One, first source of knowledge I want to talk about is mentorship. 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 First source of knowledge, mentorship. Through mentorship, we gain access to necessary and relevant knowledge. All right. Now, last week I touched a little on that. Okay. Mentorship comes through various forms, but I'm not going to use this period to actually talk about it. But I just want to bring our minds to two kinds of knowledge that we actually get in mentorship. So the first source of knowledge we're actually looking at is mentorship. But under mentorship, let me draw your attention to something. Okay. Now, there is what I call, or what is called, this is an English word, explicit knowledge. In mentorship, the first advantage you have is the advantage of explicit knowledge. Explicit knowledge. Now, what is explicit? Merriam-Webster defines explicit as fully revealed or expressed without vagueness, implication, or ambiguity, leaving no question as to meaning or intent. So where you have a mentor who sits you down and says, okay, do you know something? I started this company some 45 years ago. You started just 5 years ago. Concerning that proposal you brought, do A, B, C. That is explicit knowledge. It is plain. It is not vague. It's easily understandable. Like it's expressed to you. This is your mentor telling you A, B, C. That is explicit knowledge. So that's the first advantage of knowledge we gain when we have access to mentorship. You're a pastor, you have someone mentoring you, the person can guide you explicitly. You go and see him maybe in his office, he says, okay, concerning the program you're about to organize, do ABC. Which guest speakers are you expecting to invite? You say, okay, I'm expecting 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, why these 4 guest speakers? Why 4? Why not 1? Why not 2? Any reason? Okay, you give the reason. Okay, why these particular speakers? Have you considered the theme of the program or the conference and the speakers? Do they speak to the theme? Is it their strength? This is actually explicit knowledge from a mentor. But there is another knowledge called tacit knowledge. Tacit knowledge, which is the opposite of explicit. Now, tacit knowledge, the word tacit from Merriam-Webster is expressed or carried on without words of speak or speech. Expressed or carried on without words or speech. Now, tacit knowledge usually comes by observation. Observation. So you go and visit your mentor in his corporation, in his church, or wherever, and you are just watching him. Or let's say you have a mentor in your marriage. You have a man and a wife who are your mentors in marriage. You occasionally visit them at their home. When you go, sometimes they physically actually explicitly tell you that, okay, for your marriage to work, do ABC. But with tacit knowledge, you know it by observation. You just be watching them. You observe how the man refers to his wife. You observe how the woman refers to her husband. The respect in even calling each other. You're like, wow. Or maybe you go and visit your mentor, and then your mentor is talking to the wife on phone. And the way he receives the call, even though the wife is not there, even though the husband is not there, there is so much respect. He may not say, oh, when you're talking to your spouse, talk with respect, but you are gaining tacit knowledge. By observation, you're like, wow, look at the way he's talking. Wow. You visit your mentor, maybe you're a pastor, you visit a mentor, he's hosting a program, you observe the way he's introducing the speakers. He may not necessarily tell you that when you organize a conference, this is how you introduce speakers, but just by observing, you learn that, okay, he did this. This one requires a lot of observation. Explicit knowledge doesn't require too much observation. But for tacit knowledge, you may actually be close to someone and miss a whole lot, because you may be only looking out for explicit knowledge, what he has to say. So I think there's a usual saying that some things are taught and some are caught. I may put them under this heading. Some are taught and some are caught. Tacit knowledge is what is caught. You just watch, you just observe. How did he go about this? So let's say you have a mentor as a business person. You just observe how he handles situations. Maybe you're in his office once and he got some very bad news about a a difficulty they are facing in the business, and you just watch the way he handled it. The moment the thing came to him, if it was you, you would have felt discouraged. He just looks at it. He says, okay, the Bible says in everything we should give thanks to God. Okay, I know what to do. I know what to do. I know what to do. Now you're just watching him. He's not talking to you now. He's just talking to himself that God, I know what to do. God, I know what to do. They're like, wow. The last time I experienced a challenge, look at the way I handled it. This is a far bigger challenge than mine. This is maybe times 10 of mine. But he handled it with so much calmness. It means you've learned to be calm in the midst of challenging situations from your mentor. So that is tacit knowledge. Okay, so in tacit knowledge, I said you have to be very observant. And one thing you can do is look out for patterns and how they handle situations, both positive and negative. Look out for patterns and how they handle situations, both positive and negative. Looking out for patterns is you see that anytime something happens, this mentor behaves in a certain way. When bad news comes, there's a way he behaves. He never seems troubled. You are looking out for a pattern. You are looking out for a pattern. Anytime something along this line comes, this is how he goes about it. Okay, so those are two knowledges, if I should say, you can gain from mentorship. That's the first source of knowledge. Now, in Acts chapter 8, verse 30 to 31, something interesting happened in the Bible. The Bible says that, and Philip ran thither to him. Philip was led by the Spirit of the Lord to the Ethiopian eunuch. So in Acts 8, 30 to 31, the Bible says, and Philip ran thither to him, and heard him read the prophet Isaiah and said, understandest thou what thou readest? And he said, how can I, except someone should guide me? And he desired Philip that he would come up and sit with him. What the eunuch saying? The eunuch was saying, I need a mentor to explain this particular thing to me. And Philip said, no problem. Let me explain it to you. So the eunuch enjoyed mentorship from Philip. In his case, it was more explicit. It was more explicit. All right. Now let's go to the second source of knowledge. The second source of knowledge. The second source of knowledge is by reading. So in addition to having a human mentor, reading is important. And I've already explained that there's a difference between schooling and education. You can actually have a school in your room. You see, many people have discipline to sit behind their desk and learn. There is so much available, so much knowledge available. In this moment, nobody has an excuse not to know. So we also gain knowledge by reading. Alvin Toffler said, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Alvin Toffler. So sometimes when you get access to more information, you realize that no, I have to unlearn what I knew and relearn. So according to Alvin Toffler, if you are not learning, unlearning, and relearning, to him you are an illiterate. Then also Mark Twain said that the man who does not read has no advantage over the man who cannot read. The man who does not read has no advantage over the man who cannot read. Now think about it. So let's say I have the ability to read and I'm not making use of that ability. Why? Mark Twain says, then you are just like someone who cannot read because you're not making use of that advantage you have. Last week, I spoke about cumulative advantage. Cumulative advantage, I didn't want to go back there. The law of the cumulative advantage. So some people have an advantage over others. But you see, when you don't make use of that advantage becomes useless. You've learned to read and write, but you're not engaging it. Knowledge is important. And one of the ways we get access to knowledge is by reading. Once I was listening to Bishop Oyedepo speaking, and he said one time, many years ago, he bought books worth $9,600. $9,600. And he added that at that time, a good car could be bought for $3,000. So he says at that time, he bought books worth $9,600. A good car could actually be bought for $3,000. So he used more than times 3 of what he could have used to buy a car to buy books. And there's a statement he made sometime.
Please stay tuned. We still have Reverend Parton on the line. He reconnects and we continue. God bless you.
He said that if you don't have rest, it means to gain knowledge by reading. It's 20 books. Hello, please, do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes,
okay. All right. Okay, thank you. All right, I wanted to confirm. Thank you very much. So for some people, they seem to be masters at their fields. Do you know why? Gain knowledge. For example, you want to start a business. Sometimes I think about something. Sometimes maybe I come across people who want to start businesses. The first question that comes to mind is, how many books has this person read on business? Because you see, the terrain you are about to enter, people have entered that terrain. And you see, the way you view things from within and the way you view things from without any environment is different. When you are in an environment, there's a way you see things. When you are outside that environment, there's a way you see things. So for some people, they are about to enter a business and they think, oh, this is how business runs. But you see, there are people who have done that business. They have failed. They tried again, they failed. They tried again, they failed. They tried again, they failed. And the 5th time they succeeded. Such a person does not need the word of wisdom to tell you what to do. Just by reading his book, How I Failed and Excelled, you will overcome unnecessary potholes in your life. Do you know why? The person has experienced the potholes. He knows why not to pass. When you read his book, you will not waste time. It means that there are many challenges that we face in life that are not necessary. Because no matter the field you are in or you want to enter, people are in that field already. People have been there for 60 years. People have been there for 50 years. And God has made it such that it's like there's knowledge available. There's abundance of knowledge. Think of all the big corporations. There are books there. Is it ministry? Is it business? Is it catering business? There are people who are there and there are books on what to do. But you see, like Mark Twain said, the man who does not read has no advantage than a man who cannot read. We gain this by reading. Why would Bishop Oyedepo spend $9,600 buying books when he could buy a car? He said, when he returned from a certain trip, I'm not too sure if it was the same experience, but he said one time, Bishop Oyedepo said one time he returned from a trip, and then his wife opened the first box, books, second box, books, third box, books. And the wife said, what else? And he said, that is all else. And he said he told his wife that if I'm able to consume the contents of all these books, I will be able to produce anything I could have bought myself. So you look at great leaders, you listen to great leaders, you realize that one strength they have is the strength of reading. Reading. Let me go to the final source of knowledge I'll end with today is seminars and conferences. Seminars and conferences. Now, when we started, I mentioned that capacity building is costly. What it means is, sometimes you could have, there are seminars and conferences that are actually free, okay? But there are certain seminars and conferences that you actually have to pay for. But think of something. You go for a conference that maybe is worth, maybe they're charging $100, okay? So you go for the conference in Ghana, that should be about 1,000 cedis. And then you're thinking, why should I waste 1,000 cedis just going for a conference? Why should I waste just $100 just going for a conference? I will not go. Now, when you understand that capacity building is actually costly and is an investment, you will not see that $100 as a waste of money. You see it as a seed. The same way a farmer walks to his farm, leaves seeds in the ground, covers the ground and walks away and doesn't see it as waste. That is how capacity building is. So that if you know that this seminar or this conference has what I need, you will not worry or you will not care about the cost of that knowledge I'm going to gain. Because you know something, that $100 you are going to invest may actually make you in the next 6 months worth $50,000. So you invested $100 to gain knowledge that has made you worth $50,000. So we should understand something, that capacity building is costly. So it is necessary to attend seminars and conferences, especially if they are connected to a field, and especially if they are not connected to a field. I believe you understand, because I've explained foundational knowledge and secondary or auxiliary or peripheral knowledge.